Back in 2015, I went to a Java interview, and this was the first question which was asked to me. The question was, tell me the difference between a jar, a var, and a EAR. So jar versus var versus EAR. Define, explain. Okay, so if I come to the current time and if I ask the same question to any entry level developer or any junior developer or any freshers, they will freak out. They will say, okay, hold on. I don't write application in traditional way anymore. I use Spring Boot to write Java application, and Spring Boot is really powerful. You know what? I can write my application. I have my Java files over there. Once I'm done writing my application, I will zip it, I will bundle it, I'll create a jar out of it, and my jar can run independently. I can run my Spring Boot application as a standalone application. I can launch my Spring Boot jar as a whole. I don't need anything to run a Spring Boot jar. I just write a Java command and I can launch my Spring Boot application, and there you go. You can go live, you can do whatever you want. I do not want an external server like you guys used to do. A tomcat server or a JBus server. I do not need to take my jar and I do not need to deploy it separately in an external web server. I don't need that because Spring Boot is really powerful. It helped me to generate jar which can run as a standalone application. So I deal with jars. I don't know about the vars. Now tell me, what do you want to know? Then the interviewer will be like, oh, smart. But you are a Java developer, okay? So you know what is jars. So now you tell me, what is the difference between a normal jar and a Spring Boot jar? What is the difference between a fat jar or FAT jar and a normal jar? So do you know something called FAT jar or a fat jar? So explain me about it. How your Spring Boot jar is different than a normal Java jar. That's something that we're going to be discussing today. So Spring Boot is already providing you a lot of good feature. Now, once you build your Spring Boot application and once you create a jar out of it, that jar is also special. That is also a magical jar. And also, we need to have a really good understanding as a developer how that jar works. So that is going to be the point of topic for today's session. Hi, my name is Avilash. You are watching Selenium Express. If you are new here, please do subscribe to this channel because we make contents in Java, Spring, and the related Java technologies. If the videos are helpful, please make sure to hit the like button, put a comment in the comment section because I love to read your comments. And do share this video with your friends, with your juniors, seniors, and do share my channel as well. It'll help me to grow. Thank you very much. Let's just get started and let's roll the intro. Alright, so let's just start fresh. So it's a beautiful Saturday morning here and I just woke up and had my breakfast. I had a good shower and I feel like I'm all comfortable to talk for another 15-20 minutes, and we will discuss about some more features of Spring Boot. So we are getting into Spring Boot and I feel we started to love Spring Boot, but there are some more cool features and I want to show you that. So as of now, whatever we were doing with our Hello Spring Boot project is all about developing an application and building an application and realizing that how Spring Boot is helping us to build this application. Now let's just do one thing. Let me just show you another feature of Spring Boot. Let's say guys, right now I'm done with the development. Let's say I have developed this application. Let me just run this application right now. Okay, this application has been started on port number 9090 because I did configure it with my run configuration. And now let me just try to hit the endpoint that I have created. So I'll go to my Google Chrome, and in my Google Chrome right now, I will just hit localhost 8080/hello. Okay, the 8080 port number is right now not running. My application is running on the port number 9090, and there you go. I'm getting hello Spring Boot. Right now, let's say I'm done with this development and I want to deliver this application to my client. So what should I do to deliver this application to my client and how to go live? And it's going to be very easy. The first thing that I want to do here is to create a build for this application, or create a jar for this application, or create a var for this application. Then I can take that jar, I can run it on a server, maybe in AWS or maybe any hosting server I can purchase, and can run my jar over there, and I can go live with my code that I have written over here. So how to basically build a jar and how to deploy this jar in real time. Let's talk about that. So let me show you how to build this. Let me kill this instance, and the first process to build this application, if you are using Maven, you can just do a clean install. So I can go to Runaze over here, and I can just do a Maven install, or I can just do a Maven build. So as you can see over here, I have a target folder, and right now the target folder is empty. There is nothing inside the target folder. Right now I want to generate a jar file or a var file so that I can give that file to my client. So let me just build a jar or a var. Let me go to Runaze, and let me go to Maven build, and let's just try to build this application. In the Maven goals, I can just give clean and install, okay? And I can just do a apply, and I can click on run. Right now, I want to basically do a build for this application called Hello Spring Boot, which is this application. So let me just run this Maven goal. I can click on run right now. So it is going to build my application, and it is going to create a jar file out of it. So there are two crazy things which are happening over here, and I'm gonna let you know about it. So first of all, if you're gonna see this target folder right now, this will no longer be empty. If I'm gonna do a refresh over here, in the target folder, I'm getting some files generated, and here is my jar file. Okay, now the first question will be, okay, Vilas, so you are building a web application, right? So how can you create a jar file out of your web application? Well, this is a modern jar. So this jar is called a fat jar. And what is a fat jar? The fat jar basically means the jar which has been embedded with a server or a web server. That means to run this jar, so this jar is containing what? This jar is containing all your files that you have written over here, okay? And if I will be able to run this jar, then I'll be able to run your application. I can hit the hello world endpoint that you have written. But now the thing is that how can I run a jar? Now, I being a traditional developer, what I understand is whenever I'm working with a web project, I basically need to create a var out of my web project, right? If it is a standalone Java application, like a desktop application, I can create a jar. If it is a web application, I can create a var. And I need to take that var, I need to go to a server like Tomcat or JT or JBus, then I need to deploy this var over there, and my application will go live. But here, even though I'm creating a web application, even though I'm writing some endpoints over here, which is basically going to help me to serve a request, and the request will be hit a web server. The web server here I'm using is Tomcat. That is not I'm using, Spring Boot is using by default. Now, even though I'm having a web server, how can I create a jar out of it? It should be a var, right? Now, here is the interesting thing. Spring Boot tells you that, well, you no longer need a server to run your application. As you already understood, this jar file is well able to handle any kind of request because this comes with a web server inbuilt. If you remember that, you have added something here called a dependency called Spring Boot Starter Wave. And I have already told you the Spring Boot Starter Wave has a beautiful feature. It not only brings the necessary jars which is needed to develop this application, it also offers you a web server. So if you're gonna go to the dependency hierarchy of this POM, and if you're gonna look inside this Spring Boot, the jar that we have added, the dependency that we have added, if I open this, look at that. The Spring Boot Starter Web is basically having a Spring Boot Starter Tomcat. And the Spring Boot Starter Tomcat job is an embedded Tomcat server, which is going to help you to deploy your web application on the Tomcat server. So this is an embedded Tomcat server. We don't have to install a Tomcat server explicitly. This Tomcat jar that we have over here is going to help us to launch our application even without a Tomcat server. And that's what you can see inside the console. Like whenever we used to run this application, so if I'll go over here and if I'll be running this application, you can see this application Hello Spring Boot is automatically getting deployed to a Tomcat server, which is running on port 9090 right now. So that is possible because of this Tomcat jar that we have over here. All right. So now here is the interesting thing. Now I want to drag your attention to this jar. This jar not only having all the class file that we have written here, is not only zip these things into it, it also is having all this dependency that we have added. And you know that the Spring Boot Starter web dependency is having all this web MVC, Spring Web, Spring Boot Starter Tomcat, all these dependencies is also present inside this jar. So this jar, I can run it as a standalone application. This is a jar file. I can say that the Spring Boot is helping me to create jar, which can basically work as a standalone application. I will not need anything else. I will not need a web server or something else to run this particular jar. Let me show you how I can run this particular jar without even using a Tomcat server or a JBus server or any kind of web server. Let me show you how we can do that. Alright, so now let me do one thing. Let me close my pom.xml file. Let me just close the hello world controller. I have this jar. So where I have this jar? Inside this project. So let me go inside this project. Let me click on properties here and let me click on this icon. So it is going to take me to the Hello Spring Boot project. Now let me just do one thing. Let me go inside this project. This project has a target folder. Let me go inside this and here you can see your jar file, right? So I need to run this jar. So let me just do one thing. Let me go to this target folder and let me open my terminal in this particular folder. And let me just do a ls. So if I do a ls, I can see all the different files which is present here inside the target folder. So here is my target folder and here is my jar file. And how to run a Java jar file? And to run a Java jar file, I can just write java jar and I can just give the jar name. So this is how you typically run a jar file, right? Java-jar and your jar name. Let me just do a enter. Well, it's not running. I told you that, what I was expecting that if I will basically write this particular line, it will help me to launch my Spring Boot application. And this is just a machine where I have installed Java. I don't have any Tomcat server or anything right over here. I'm directly launching this jar. I'm directly running this jar. And what I'm expecting that my jar should bootstrap the Spring Boot application and it will deploy itself in the embedded server that it is having and my application should start. But it is not starting and it is saying that no manifest attribute found, no main manifest attribute found in the Hello Spring Boot, this particular jar that I have created. So what's the reason and why I'm not able to, run this particular jar? Well, guys, you have to understand one thing. Whenever you are creating an application which is Spring Boot application, as I said that what I am expecting, the jar that we are creating, it should be a fat jar. And the fat jar, I mean, it should include all the web server or the related thing which is going to help my application to start up. And for this, we need a help from a specific Maven plugin. So I'll go to the pom.xml file and here I will add a plugin which will help me to build that special jar that I am looking for. This jar does not have all the necessary things that I need to bootstrap my application because I just created this jar with a normal Maven build. Right now what I want to do, I will just go out of this dependency from this pom.xml and right here I want to use a Maven plugin to create my jar or var. So I will just do one thing. I will just go ahead and write a build. Whenever I'm building my application, I will be needing a plugin. So I'll be writing plugins, and inside this plugin, I want to use a Maven War plugin or a Spring Boot Maven plugin, which is going to help me to build any application, and it is going to help me to, build a jar file. It's not Maven War plugin, I feel. It's called Spring Boot Maven plugin or something. Let me search for this. So let me go to Maven repository, and right here, I'm going to be looking for Spring Boot Maven plugin. Let me just look for this. Okay, if I'll go for this, I have a Spring Boot Maven plugin, and this is the special plugin which is going to help you to create fat jar. Okay, so let me go to the version, and let me just copy this plugin, and let me come to the plugin section, and I don't want to use it as a dependency. I want to use it as a plugin. So let me just remove this dependency thing, and also let me just remove the version thing, because my starter POM is going to handle this. So can I just do a Control S? The group ID is giving me a problem. The group ID is invalid. I don't think so. I want this Spring Boot starter parent to handle the version, which is 3.1.1, and the group ID is giving me a problem. I think this is not a problem. So let me just do one thing. Let me just go to Maven and update project. Let me see if this issue is going away. Well, it's not going away. Okay. So why this issue is not going away? Because this is a plugin, right? And I have to wrap it off with a plugin tag. So inside a plugin and plugin tag, I will be defining my plugin. So this is one of my Maven plugin that I have, right? So look at that, what I have done. So I have the build tag, and inside that I can define many plugins, and this is one of the plugin that I have. So inside plugin and plugin, I'll be keeping my Spring Boot Maven plugin. This particular thing, I'll be putting it inside the plugin thing, right? Now let me just do Control S. Now what will happen, whenever I'll be building my application, this plugin is going to help me to generate the jar. Let me see if it is happening right now. Let me just go to the Hello Spring Boot project, do a right click, run as, and do a Maven clean first. This is going to help me to remove all the jars that I have inside the target folder. So everything has been erased, and my Maven clean is right now successful. You can see the Maven clean is successful right now, and it's deleted my target folder, the contents that I have inside my target folder, and now my target is empty. Now let me just do another build. So I'll just go ahead, click on run, and click on Maven build, and let me just give the goal as clean and install. So it is going to clean again, and it is going to do a install so that it can basically get my jar file created. Now here I can see I have the Maven jar plugin in action, and it helped me to create a jar called Hello Spring Boot 0.0.1 snapshot jar in the target folder. So let me go to my target folder. Let me just do a refresh here. And once I do a refresh, the target has the jar right now, which is once again generated. But now we have generated the jar using this plugin. Now let me go here and let me just do a ls. I'm not getting anything because last time I did clean it and I have removed everything. So let me just do one thing one more time. Let me just click on new terminal in this particular folder one more time. And I have the content inside the target folder, right? I have this contents. So let me just do a ls to see all the contents that I have. And let me just run this particular jar file that I'm having, Hello Spring Boot 0.0.1. Let me just do java -jar. This is how I want to run this particular jar. Copy this, paste it out, do enter, and boom, it is starting my Spring application. And you can see the interesting thing here is that it is deploying my application in the Tomcat 8080. Right now you can go to any desktop, you can go to any laptop, you can go to any server, you can go to any cloud. If the Java virtual machine has been installed over there, then you can safely write this particular command java jar, and you can basically run this jar directly. You really don't need to do any setup. You really don't need to do you really don't need to do anything over there. If you have this jar, if you have this jar, you can basically run it. You don't need a web server for that, right? So this is cool. So now let me go ahead and test my application. If it is working, let's just do a enter. And now my application is running on port number 8080. Let's just do a enter and you can see it is running fine. And just to let you know that your application right now has started on port number 8080. Now you might ask me, okay, Vilas, I want to run it in 9090. Right now you are running your application directly. Let me kill it by hitting Control and C. Just hit Control and C to kill this application. And right now I think your application is terminated. Now if you're going to hit it, it's not running. Let's say right now I want to start my application in port number 9090. So there we are using the run configuration when I was launching the application from IDE. Right now what I can do, I can simply write the same command java jar, and you can give the jar name, then just give the dash and write the property over here called server.port and just write 9091. Let me just hit enter, and you can see that your Spring Boot is starting right now and your Tomcat has deployed your project on the port number 9091 because this is the command that I have given over here after the double dash. So now you can go to your application one more time. If you're going to hit it, this is not working because you have to change this to 9091. Do a enter and it's working good. So see how easy it is to start your Spring Boot application in any server. Now you can try it in your friend's machine. You just send this jar to your friend machine. His machine should not be having anything. If only Java is installed, you can just use this command and you can launch your jar. That's how easy it is and how it is possible, how we have able to generate this jar, which is a fat jar, which is embedded with a Tomcat server by using this Maven plugin that you are seeing over here. This plugin is helping me to wrap everything inside a single zip file. Java, the jar is just a zip file, and we have zipped everything inside this. And in one go, we are basically launching our Spring Boot application. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so if you have watched till now, you have really done a fabulous work. You understood how to basically create a Spring Boot FAT jar. And if you understood everything so far, please put a comment in the comment section that Avilas, I understood everything. So all good, just write all good so I can understand that you can reach till here. If you don't like to proceed further, you can skip to the next video. But if this topic is getting interesting for you, and if you really want to grab this topic, and if you want to go in depth, just observe the next 15 minutes. Because guys, I'm gonna go internal. I'm gonna tell you how exactly a FAT jar is different than a normal jar. We're gonna be going inside the jar, we're gonna be unzipping the jar, and we're gonna be exploring the contents of the jar. What is inside a FAT jar, what is inside an original jar, or a raw Java jar, and how the Spring Boot jar is different than a normal Java jar. That is something we're going to be exploring right now. It's going to be really interesting and exciting. Just watch, observe. You don't have to worry whenever I'll be opening any files. If there is any code written inside that file, you don't have to worry about it. Just observe. And in the end of the video, everything will make sense. Just keep on watching. If there is any question is coming to your mind whenever you're watching this video, just keep that question in your mind because it's not a live session. You cannot ask me questions, but just hold on to your question, watch the video till the end, and then I'm sure that things is going to make sense to you. Okay? And let me know in the end of the video if everything is making sense, or if you have any question, you can also put it in the comment section. Let's proceed. It's going to be interesting. Let's just see it. Alright, before you go, there is a bonus for you. I'll tell you a very important thing here. So if someone is asking what is a jar and what is a fat jar, tell me all the differences. I'm sure that you're going to be having a lot of things in your mind right now, but I'm going to be showing you the most important thing right now, right here. See that? Let's say this is my Java application. This is a Java application. I'm going to the pom.xml file, and in my pom.xml file, let's say I'm removing the Maven plugin for a moment. Okay, I'll be commenting this out. All right now my Maven plugin is commented out, right? So you know that right now if I'll be building this application, if I'll just go ahead and do a runage and Maven install, it is going to generate a new jar for me. The Maven install will first do the Maven clean, and then it will do the Maven install, and it will create a new jar for me. So you can see the Maven jar plugin is in action, and it has created me this particular jar. Hello Spring Boot 0.0.1 snapshot jar. So if I'll go to this particular package, if I go into my Hello Spring Boot application, if I'll go to my target folder, this is the jar that I have created. But I want you to observe this jar a little bit. So let me just open up the list view and now look at the size of this particular jar. Look at that. The jar that we have generated is right now 5 KB. And what it does mean that this is a very less memory occupied jar, and looks like it doesn't have the dependency, and it doesn't have all my dependency that I need to run this application. It doesn't have it. That's why the size is less. Let me just try to run this jar. Okay, I have written my run command, and let me just try to run this jar, and you can see whenever I'm trying to run this jar, I'm getting this issue. No main manifest attribute found in this particular jar. What I mean by that? That means the Java is saying, okay, I cannot run this jar because it doesn't know like what to run. It doesn't know where is the main method. It doesn't know where to start this application. Why? Why it doesn't know about it? Because in the target folder, if I'll go to this jar, let me just try to unzip this jar. You can unzip it if you have 7-zip if you're using Windows, but I'm using Mac, so I will just unzip it. This is a free software that I have right now. You can install it if you're using Mac, and you can unzip your jar file. If you're using Windows, just go for 7-zip. And now let me click on this. This will just get me the project. If I'll open this, let me extract it to the same target folder. Okay, this is what I have unzipped. So this is my project which was inside this jar. So I've extracted it. Let's see what this project contains. You can see there is a meta-inf folder. And inside the meta-inf folder, if I'll go inside this, there is a file called manifest.mf. If I'll open this particular file, look at the manifest file that we have. And you can see if I zoom this up, you can see there is nothing inside it. There is no start class defined. There is no main method defined. Basically, when my jar is trying to start, it doesn't know where to start. What is that exact class which will help me to bootstrap my application? This manifest file doesn't contain that information. I'll show you what I mean by that. I will show you another manifest.mf file whenever we'll be building our jar using the Spring Boot Maven plugin. But this is how the manifest file looks like, and it doesn't have any start method or main method. It doesn't have any class defined here which can start my application. So let me close this particular file. And also, if you want to see this file, I have this com.selenium express. All my project classes are also available here. You can see these are my project classes. So these are all the classes that I have written. But where is the dependency? Where is my Spring Boot starter dependency? Where is my Spring context dependency? Where is my Spring wave dependency? Where is my tomcat starter dependency? What about all the jars that I used to have here inside this project, inside the Maven dependency? I had all these jars, right? Where is this jar? Because if I don't have this jar, this code that I have inside this .class file is useless. All this .class file has been generated when we compiled our Java code. We have written some of the Java classes here, and all these Java classes, whenever we have compiled it, it has created the .class file. If we have college.java, from the college.java, we got college.class because all these files are compiled. But how this compiled code will run? Where is the dependency? And if you want to see inside all the folders, you are not going to find any dependency here. If you're going to go to any of these folders, you are not going to find any kind of dependency which can help you to run this application and which will help you to utilize all these classes. So that is the difference. The normal jar file that we have here, if I go back to my jar file, this is the jar file, have your concentration over here. This jar file has two problems. The dependencies are not included when the jar is built. We have already confirmed it by unzipping the jar and going inside it. And also inside this jar file, we have the manifest file, and inside that manifest, we don't have any main thing defined from where it will launch my application. Okay, but now let's just do the same thing by going into our application, and here right now we'll uncomment our Maven Spring Boot plugin, and now we will again relaunch our jar. Okay, I mean we're gonna be rebuilding our jar one more time. I'll just do a Maven install. It will clean my previous jar and it will create a new jar for me. Now let me go back to my application one more time. So can I go back to the target folder? And can I see my jar? Okay, you can see this jar has been created at 2:36 p.m. and right now it is 2:36. So right now only this jar has been created. So if I will go inside this right now, okay, this is the previous unzipped file that I have. Let me delete it. Now let me again unzip this particular jar. I will unzip it using this software. And now if I will go inside this jar, we will see how it is different than the previous jar that we have created. Now you can see, first of all, this jar size, look at that. It is 19 MB right now. And if I'll go inside this unzipped version of this jar, you will see it is looking completely different. If we're gonna go to this boot INF, you're going to be finding a lot of different things. If you're going to go to the leaf folder, now look at that. These are all your jars or dependency that you have added to your project. So all these dependencies are present inside this leaf folder, which exists inside the boot INF folder. So all your dependencies are here. First of all, you got all your Jackson dependency, Log4j dependency, Spring Boot dependency, Spring Core dependency, WebMVC dependency, maybe the Tomcat dependency. Everything is included here. That is the first thing. Second thing that you're going to be finding here inside the classes, you have all your classes that you have inside your application. All your classes are here. And now the most important thing, in this application, which file will help you to start your application? Obviously the starter file. The starter app has a main method, right? That is basically helping us to start our application. To confirm that, if I'll go to the starter app, you can see the starter app right now is having the main method. So I can just do right click, run as, and start my Spring Boot application by doing this. Or I can directly run this application because it has a main method. From here only my program execution will begin and my run method will bootstrap my Spring application. So when I am in the IDE, I know I can come and run this particular file directly. But how the same thing will happen whenever you are basically executing the jar file? Let's say this is the jar file you got and right now you are launching it. So how Java will know which class will help you to start your application? And by doing this, you can see this from this jar, we got this thing. This is the unzipped version of my jar. So if you go inside this meta INF, you have the manifest.mf file again. Let me open this. Let me open this with a text editor. Open with text editor. If I go into this, look at this. This manifest is right now looking completely different, isn't it? Couple of different things that I'll show you. The start class, look at the start class. So it knows how to start my application and my start class is starter app. So the starter app will help me to bootstrap this application. That is cool. You can see right now it knows whenever we'll be starting this application from where it will be finding the dependency. You can see boot INF folder, inside that we have the leap folder, inside that we have all the dependency. And you can see how to start this application using the starter app. To start this application, we'll be needing a jar launcher. And you can see there is a main class here, and the main class is pointing to the jar launcher, and jar launcher is basically a launch file or a batch file which will help you to start this application. I will show you. Now this starter app will be given to the jar launcher. What is jar launcher? If you're gonna go inside this, and if you're gonna go to your org, Spring Framework, boot, loader, you're going to be finding some jar launcher here. You can see jar launcher.class. So this jar launcher.class will help you to launch your jar file. So this jar launcher is basically the program which will help you to start your application. To this jar launcher, your main class will be given. To your jar launcher, this start class will be given. The start class is starter app. Now the jar launcher will get your starter app, and it will help you to start this starter app, and the starter app knows from where it will be getting all the dependency. And this is why this jar file that you are looking right now, so this project we got from which jar file? This jar file. So this is a complete jar file. You can see the original jar here 5 KB, but the executed jar, the Java jar file that we are getting over here is 19 MB. So this is a executable jar. This jar is a complete jar. It's a fat jar. It has the dependency, and also it has all the required classes, and also it has the manifest file where we have defined the start class. Now you can go over here and you can just try to run the same jar one more time, and you'll see your Spring Boot is bootstrapping because it has everything that is required to start your application. So that's the difference between a normal jar and a fat jar. The normal jar doesn't contain dependency, but a fat jar contains dependency. I think this is clear. This is for your understanding. If you are understanding this, then that's good. Let's switch to the next video. Alright, so you are done watching this video. I'm gonna see you in the next video with some more exciting contents, and we're going to be unraveling some more features of the Spring Boot. So if the videos are helping, make sure that you are subscribing, you are liking the video, you are making a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to practice the video, by the way. That's the most important thing for you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care, and happy coding.